Okay. Now it's time to master your quarter. And no, not the 25 cents in your pocket. All right. Quarter of your year. Now, I'm going to kind of speed through this one because it's pretty simple, right? We have a quarter, which is 3 months. Awesome, right? Now what we're going to do is the last 2 months, but month 2 and 3 are not important anymore, okay? They're not going to be important until the end of the first month, so we won't even worry about those. Excuse me. Right. The reason why we're not worrying about this is because the first month is what we get done in the first month is going to determine what we do next, right? Because it's progress based. So if we're doing good first month, cool. If we get everything done in the first month, well, holy crap, now you got to redo your whole thing, right? But, I mean, that'd be amazing. Realistically, you want it to be hard enough to where you don't do that, you know? Now, starting with month 1. We got to break month 1 down, okay? And using the example from before, we'll just keep it simple again, 1,000 pieces of content every month. I actually don't know the number to that. Whatever 1,000 divided by 12 is. But it's 20 a week, right? It's about 20 a week, which is almost 3 a day. But that's not relevant because we're not looking at the days yet. Right, X that out. At this point, with your monthly goals, they should be almost so specific that it seems pointless writing them down. What do I mean by that? Well, if your quarter 1 goal is to get 250 pieces of content, in your first month, you're going to be like, oh, I need like 75, okay? It's almost the same exact thing. It's just a smaller scale, which means it's more specific. Can't really get more specific than that, other than making it a smaller scale, which you do for your weekly, right? I don't know if these numbers are right. I'm just writing them down. But almost so specific that it gets kind of redundant, right? So we have 75. This is a good sign, okay? This means we're getting pretty close. Because then once we get to the weekly, we're going to see how we can actually accomplish these things. Right, and 75 might be too much, I'm not sure. But we're so specific that it's redundant. If I'm using that word right. But it's like you're just basically doing the same thing, just at a smaller scale, okay? Now how we're gonna look at this, we've been looking at this in terms of outputs and inputs. And when I was thinking about it last night, I was kind of confusing myself, so I figured other people might be confused. Outputs and inputs are almost interchangeable, but if we look at it this way, our quarter 1 output, which is what we want to have happen, output, right? This is what we're working towards in the first quarter, our quarter 1 outputs, okay? In order to get that, we have to have monthly inputs. But at the same time, in order to get our monthly inputs, we also need our weekly and daily inputs. So in this case specifically, our ultimate output is here with the quarter 1 because that's what we're looking at right now. But once we get to weekly, then our monthly inputs become our monthly outputs. So it's actually changed around the further down in the process we go. So now we're going to have monthly outputs, which are also the monthly inputs. It's just where you're looking at it, right? So right now we're looking at our monthly inputs, but that will later become our monthly outputs, whereas our weekly and daily becomes the inputs or the actions that we take to make the outcome of our monthly goals. Right? Hopefully I explained that right, or in a way that is understandable. Okay, so right now we're working on our monthly inputs to get our Q1 outputs. Excuse me again. Okay. Now that everything is becoming much more actionable, we are going to look at things from a weekly perspective. So we have the month, and the month is what, about 4 weeks on average, right? So we have the 4 weeks. We're gonna go down here, and we got the weekly inputs, which help us get our monthly goals. Now, in my opinion, the weekly goals or the weekly tasks, or however you want to call them, are the most important because you can get a lot more done in a week than you can in a day, especially if you're working a full-time job. So what do I mean by this? Let's say you have 8 hours a day already over here. Or sorry, not 8 hours a day. 8 hours of work, right? Outside of that, you have time after work and you have time before work. So for me right now, I got the before work time because I got to go do EMT in like an hour. So you have time before and after work to be able to do something. And you don't have the full day to work on just one task because, or all your tasks is how most people look at it, because you have work. Okay? So when it comes to getting things done, most people think, oh, I should do a little bit of everything in one day. And if you do that, you're going to get overwhelmed, and you also don't make as much progress, right? Because maybe I'm spending an hour here, an hour here, an hour here, and an hour there, right? So you got 4 hours of work time, but they're all spread out. And maybe you don't even get that much progress on one, especially if it's the first time you're doing something and you don't have a system set up. It makes it really hard to make a lot of progress fast, especially if you're just like, your first time is not going to be very easy because you're learning. So until you have a system in place, or until you've done it a couple of times, it's not really going to process in your brain that, oh, I can do this really fast. So this is one day, right? But we have 4 hours and it's all spread out. Whereas if you do another day and you have 4 hours, but you spend it on one topic, and you spend 4 hours of that day on that one topic, but then you get done with it, right? And it moves you forward. The next day, you can do the same thing where you have another thing and you work on it for 4 hours and you get it done and you move to the next one. And you can do that 7 times that week, not including, this is just when you're working, right? So when you're not working, you can probably even do more. You'd say 8 hours, right? On whatever you're trying to work on. And if this is work related for you, then it's more work. You know, this is just talking about free time, right? And getting things scheduled into your calendar so that you can make more actionable moves, right? So that's why I think weekly is the most important, is because we can do a lot more if we think about things getting done on a weekly timeline rather than a daily timeline. Because if we think about it on a daily timeline, we're going to try to do too many things. And in one day, you're going to get overwhelmed, especially with life that happens, you know? Whether you have kids, a job, family that comes around that bugs you, anything like that. It's really hard to get everything done in a day, or a little bit of everything done in a day. And you don't make that much progress. So it's easier to just focus on one thing for a day, or until it's done, and then move to the next one, and then move to the next one. So it just adds to the pile. And if you do that weekly, you have 7 things by the end of the week. If you only do one thing a day, right? But you spend more time on it. And that's much more progress than, let me do 4 things here, not complete. Let me do a little bit more 4 things, not complete. A little bit more 4 things. So it's just, it's more specific. You're able to focus on something more and get that thing done a lot faster. Right. And so with our weekly inputs, again, they're going to be reduced down to daily inputs, which become the weekly output. But we're going to be tackling it a little bit different, right? We're going to be tackling it in a, what can we do every single day? Or, sorry, what can we do of something all the way through every day that ultimately gives us the weekly outcome, right? Which then we do that in a repeat of 4 times, depending on the month, maybe 5, but for sure 4 times, right? And then that'll give us our monthly. And then we go from there and do month 2, get the month 2 output, and then month 3 output after we get the month 2 output, 3-put, apparently. And now you have your quarter. And so that's kind of your quarter summed up, right? So after this one, this is our quarter, which we break down into the first month, and then we break down into the week. And then the days, interchangeable, right? Then we go to month 2, do the same thing, and month 3, do the same thing, and that brings us to our first quarter done, 250 pieces of meat, or whatever you want to do. Okay? Next, I'm going to talk about literally just the week and how you can program the week, right? Using your hours, stuff like that, and breaking it into days. And I'll give you some examples of what I do personally. I do wake up really early, so if you're not a fan of that, that's completely up to you. But with me pulling like 10, 12-hour shifts now, I have to be very specific with my time. So this helps. This system really, really helps me. And it'll make more sense once I get into the weekly stuff. But for right now, we want to figure out what our quarter and monthly outputs are. So if you can figure out what your month output is for this next coming month, that'll better prepare you for what we're going to go over in the next one. I know I didn't really walk you through how to make your monthly output or inputs. I just kind of explained it. But again, at this point, your monthly goal should be pretty specific. So you shouldn't need too much guidance when it comes to your monthly, because your quarterly, if you just break that down in a third, then you got your monthly, right? And then you can think about that more specifically. What can we do to get that monthly? And that becomes your monthly inputs, right? So your monthly output is the goal. And then your monthly input is, let's say, 1 or 2 or maybe 3 things that you can do that make that output possible, right? And it's kind of the same process through the entire thing. So get your 3 things, your 2 to 3 things that you believe that you can do to make that monthly output more successful or more probable. And then we're going to go over those 3 things for this next goal and then repeat it for the weeklies. Now, I do have one little tidbit, kind of Easter egg thing that I'm going to do on the next and final one that I'm doing on this little mini series. And it's something that I try to take to heart. And it's something that you might have to go back and realign some of the stuff you're doing. But for right now, just follow along with this. And then if you're feeling daring the next episode, then by all means, shoot for it, because I try to shoot for it. It's exhausting, but it's also really fulfilling and you get a lot more done. So keep in mind that that is coming and have a great rest of your day.